Okay, good morning, everybody. Everybody's well. Happy Thursday. For those that are wherever you are in life, thanks so much for tuning in today. We're talking a lot about this idea of zeal. Thank you for the emails that are coming in. It's something that we all struggle with, by the way. It's funny how similar we all are in life, and how much when we're talking about things that are hitting our traits, everyone in their own way is going through this. Everyone in their own way is struggling with some aspect of zeal, whether it's doing the thing that I deep down know I want to do, whether it's sustaining, whether it's getting past normal to become extraordinary. This is all part of the game. And so yesterday we spoke about this concept of, or we've been talking about it, fast acting, maximum strength, and all the stuff that the voice tells us. What I want to do is two things today, which is critical. And then maybe we'll have tomorrow's Friday, we'll do Q&A. And then maybe we can move on to the next trait next week. And we could always circle back to zeal, because like we said, zeal is the foundation of all traits. Chaim, to those that are in the middle of their coffee or whatever it is that you're drinking. So like we said yesterday, what's so critical is to remember that where you are in life is not worthy of your judgment. So important. It doesn't matter where you are in life. It doesn't matter that the person to your right and to your left are further down the road. We get lost in the judgment of where I am. It doesn't matter that I fell back and now I am 10 steps where I was when I was younger. I see this a lot when you're talking to somebody and it's easy for them to overcome their challenge, but they feel embarrassed that they fell backwards. I feel like I'm 18. I feel like I'm 20. I feel like I'm a kid. So I have to start my career again. I can't believe I made that mistake. And now I'm alone, or now I did the thing that I did when I was, whatever it is, the judgment of where the line of scrimmage is. It doesn't add anything to judge against yourself. It doesn't matter where you get pushed back to. What matters every day is that you wake up in the morning and go to the line. You go to whatever the battle is of the day. And you walk in with the renewed vigor of, this is where I am. One of the great, we had for tonight's show, on the Shabbat show, we've got a great couple, the Cowlands, Alana and Jamie Cowland. And they spoke about this idea with the virus, with couples. Couples are struggling. Some couples are struggling through this virus. And one of the reasons why they're struggling is because they're not aware of the fact that they're going through a total shift of their lives. Like, they didn't process that, like, this isn't a regular life. We're living in virus land. Whether in their particular city or state, they're back to somewhat normal. Like, we went through a period of time that never happened in our lifetime. So it's normal for a couple to feel more stress on the relationship. So if you're just going to judge the relationship as if it was a regular day and you're living 3 months into the virus, you're misjudging it. And for those who watch tonight's show, it's about marriage. You'll hear their advice and some other great guests. So check it out, 8 o'clock, projectinspire.com, or at my Facebook. But that's the idea. The idea is that judging where you are is a waste of energy. So to employ zeal, you need emotional energy. That's why it's easier to employ it in the morning than it is at night. You need to go to remember we did this on willpower? You need some level of energy to employ in order to bring up and bring out the trait of zeal. If we're going to spend it judging ourselves, Why am I here for? Why hasn't this worked out for? We're just going to put our energy in that, which will then allow the voice to be like, you see, what's the point? What's the point? So what's so important every single day, and this is why the journaling is so critical, but even if you're not journaling, just thinking is so critical. And if you remember, go back, I don't know, Andy knows when this is. It was probably 80 episodes ago when we spoke about time to think, time to act. You need time to think every day. We need time to process every day. Because if we don't really know what we should be working on. Now, let's go a little bit deeper. In the core of this Jewish philosophy on this, the belief is that every one of us is infinitely valuable. And every one of us has an assignment. And that every day there is stuff for us to do. If I can go even deeper a little bit. In Kabbalistic thought, this world is filled with spiritual sparks. This is a very sophisticated system of which I know very little of, but it is a vast world of knowledge in the world of Kabbalah. But I'll secularize it in my head without having to go too deep into that world. Not that I know too much about that world. Well, let's say better. Not that I know too much about that world. There is spirituality everywhere. And our job in this world is to lift up that spark, to look at the world as almost containing sparks of spirituality. And every day what we're doing is when we're acting in a certain way, we're like lifting up sparks. We are strengthening spirituality in the most mundane areas, which means two things. One, there's nothing that is unimportant. And two, each of us have a job that is equally important to everything else in the world. So if I wake up in the morning and I see my family, or I see my colleagues, or I see myself, and I'm struggling to get out of bed or to do the right thing, that struggle may just be me alone. It may be mundane. It may be smiling to someone in the morning. It may be fighting through a piece of some spiritual text. It may be giving, not taking, maybe doing the right thing. Every day when I'm in my life, maybe getting out of bed when I want to be sleeping. Every day in my life, that struggle, if we have the way we look at it, that struggle contains in it some spirituality. That if I win, if I do what's right, I not only change myself and bring the spirituality out of myself, I'm actually, in a way, changing the world. This is the famous story of a rabbi named Rabbi Salanter who said, when I was young, I wanted to change the world, and that was impossible. So I wanted to change my community, and that was impossible. So I wanted to change my family, and that was very difficult. So I just focused on changing myself. And as soon as I focused on changing myself, I started being able to change my family and my community, and then eventually impact the world. That concept is that whatever I'm doing every single day is of utmost importance, even if I can't see it. Because I don't know the impact it's having on the world around me. I don't know. Not just I smile, so then they smile, so then they smile. Fine. I'm saying there is holiness and spirituality in the world. And when I wake up in the morning and act with zeal and do what's right, I don't know the impact it's having on the world. And there's some great, massive books on this that speak to the level of what one little act is doing on the larger scene. But we have to understand that and believe that and recognize that my little fight in the morning in my room is bigger than I thought. Not to knock us down, but to build us up. And it doesn't really matter where I place. What matters is I can lift up sparks everywhere. I can lift up sparks everywhere. That's what I do. I lift up sparks, lift up people, I lift up injustice in the smallest ways. But where that leaves us before we close out is that if you're doing this correctly, you begin putting in zeal into your life. You begin putting in zeal into the things that you're currently doing. Now, here's the next level. Level 1 of zeal is going to the line of scrimmage every day, looking at what comes at you and acting differently. If for no other reason than it builds you and it changes the world, even if the change is subtle, even if the change is small. We're doing bigger things than we think. Being in your room alone and getting up when you should versus sleeping. Making the call that is just a hello to the family member that's like 30 seconds, but it makes their day. Working with a level of professionalism that gives a higher value to your client because they paid you and you want to do what's right. Not because you want to put more money in your pocket, but because that's why you're here, to be a giver. And if someone pays you to do a job, you do it as best as you humanly can. And the intention that you have when we're faced with the laziness and the comfort of our body of earth is I want to bring out the best in me. That's level 1. And that level is our life. But there's level 2. And the level 2 is identifying battles that we have to start having that aren't right now in front of us. There are things that we should be doing that are not in front of us right now. They're not on our daily list. That are not necessary for our survival. That are things that we should be doing that are beyond my day. And we know it because it's in the back of our heads. It's the good voice. It's that knowing I should be doing. It's that maybe in Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, or New Year's, or there's something deeper in our lives that we should be fighting towards. And we can't get to it yet. The day is too busy. And the weeks seem to go from next week to next week to next week. But when time slows down, this, by the way, is why the concept of Shabbat is so powerful, because Shabbat is that break. When you step off the treadmill and when you step off anything, like the thoughts, who you are is now, you're able to access a piece of yourself that you couldn't access when you're running. It's like I was explaining to somebody, someone was asking me like what Shabbat is all about. I'm like, let me give you an example. You ever go on a treadmill? So if you go on a treadmill, people run at different speeds. Either, let's assume you're working on a treadmill, right? So in I don't know how it is in everyone's treadmill, but in my personal treadmill, 4, I don't know how it is in everyone's treadmill. So I don't know, Andy, if there's like, but 4 is like a very fast walk. Level 4, number 4 on the box, right? 5 is a jog. 6 is a moderate sprint. 7 and plus, you're just sprinting. 3, you're having a conversation with the person next to you. I was explaining to somebody, in life, people operate at different levels. Some people, their lives are 4s. They walk fast wake up in the morning, they walk fast. Some people, their lives are 3s. Some people, their lives are 7s. Wake up in the morning and like, I can't. It's 24/7. Shabbat, I was explaining to this person, is the second, at least in my thing, I pull that red plug. The second you pull that plug, and everything just stops. And when everything just stops, you're not worrying about your body. Your mind starts to go places it didn't have to go when it couldn't go when you're too busy doing things. And whether it's Shabbat or something else, that's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is that the highest level of this, the most work that takes place in the world of zeal takes place in front of our eyes. But there's another level that we have to start to talk about, which is, what are the battles that I should be fighting? What are the battles that are really beyond my day that I should incorporate into my day? What are the things? It's not what are the things that should I be doing, like, that are just a little bit outside. I mean, what are the things that I should be doing that I'm just not doing? When I look at the battles that I fight, what do they say about me? Am I fighting enough spiritual big battles in my life? Am I growing in areas that I am most proud of? So I have to fight my daily battles every single day. And I have to get up and act with zeal and work and do. And I got to do all those things. But I also have to take a period of time, not a lot, and go, okay, what are the things that aren't even on my list that I should put on my list? What are some of the things that I've always wanted to do that I never had a chance to do? And maybe it's not going to come my way because of the way my life works, but I should be fast acting maybe in areas that I know I should be exploring. I know I should be moving into. Maybe there are times in my life. Now, watch how this is so complicated. So I don't want to but I just want to bring out the nuance. There's the fast acting piece of me, which is, it's here, go do it. There's the maximum strength, which is, I'm sustaining something because I got to get through that arc and close out deals and close out and if I start and stop things, I can't just walk away in the middle. But there's one more level, which is, I need time to think about areas that I always wanted to jump into, that my life right now will be too busy for me to try. And those areas are going to require me to be vulnerable, and it's unknown, and it's super uncomfortable. But I know deep down that I need to go into those areas. I know deep down I need to explore this piece of my life. There's this project that I always wanted to do, this book that I always wanted to write, this relationship I always wanted to have, this subject I always wanted to study, this part of my talent base that I always wanted to explore, this place I always wanted to go. I do this conversation all the time with guys. I have no time to go to Israel. I'm like, for a week? I got work, I have family. If I want to go to Israel, I should go with my family. I'm like, really? 1 week? You can't give yourself 1 week? That's the battle that you should be fighting. A week to focus on myself, my life, my spirituality, my parenthood. But that's, for most people, outside the bounds of zeal right now. It came in and it's outside the camp. Everyone has that stuff. Everyone has things that they know they should be doing that is outside their daily life. And part of zeal is understanding that. There's what I do and the battles I fight, and the non-judging myself for not being more or less. And then there's the times where you think and you dream. Remember the ideal day we spoke about a while ago? Where should I be going? What should I be exploring? What are the things I always want to be doing? That's another aspect of zeal, is to go into the dreamland, if you will, into the ideal, and ask ourselves, my life is heading towards a certain trajectory right now, and just by law of motion, I'm going in this direction. And along the way, I could be fighting and going down the field, but for a minute, let me stop and ask myself, are there other sports I could be playing too? Is there something else? that I could be touching on that I never gave myself permission to touch on. So when we think through this trait, there is the fundamentals of it that take place every day in our lives. And whatever goes on in your life, recognizing that maybe more important than whether you do it or don't do it in the thing itself is whether you become a person that does it, right? It may be more like, let's take the easy example, getting up at a certain time every morning. More important to what happens when you get up in the morning, then that means I could do this and I could do that and I'm up. What's more important is that I am a person that can get up when I want to get up. There's a characteristic that I'm building with myself. More important than being able to walk in with enthusiasm to the thing you've been doing every day and getting the benefit of that, I'm a person that is enthusiastic every day. There's the aspect of zeal that is the trait that is going to be nestled in who you are and take you places that you don't even know you're going to yet. But there's also the aspect of, okay, that I have in the engine for today, but I also got to use my imagination and go, where do I want to go tomorrow? Okay, we'll continue this. All right, tomorrow's Q&A. Of course, like I said, zeal is the foundation of all traits, so it'll be circulating around. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's see if we can do a little bit of this today, seeing into the future. Q&A tomorrow, and then we'll take it from there. All right, have an incredible day. With God's help, can't wait to see you again tomorrow.